What up, what up, what up? Welcome everybody to episode 16 of the Chat It Up podcast. We're going to go with a new format this year, new year, new me type of thing. You're still going to get the same great interviews that you always do, but I'm going to add a few segments here at the beginning. I hope you guys like them. I personally think that they're going to be awesome, so I'm going to just kind of jump right into these. The very first segment is going to be one that I'm just going to call Youper News. We all see headlines in the newspaper, see stories on TV6, and I know that we sit there and say to ourselves, where else would stuff like this happen but up here in the UP? So I'm going to be highlighting some of these news stories as they come up and kind of just putting in my 2 cents about them. So, and actually this week I have 2 different Youper News stories. So the first one is the upcoming Hickey Lunta Fest being held in Negaunee on January 18th and 19th. As you all know, Hickey Lunta, the Finnish snow god, what better way to celebrate him than a festival in the middle of the winter? So there's going to be a ton of events over Friday and Saturday. Like I said, January 18th and 19th. You can look them up online or on their Facebook page, but some of the Youper highlights are there's going to be a sauna at the Negaunee YMCA. There's a luge course. You can go and check out luge going on. There's the Panukaku pancake breakfast and a Trinary toast eating contest and a pasty slingshot. And that's just a couple of the things going on. I mean, it doesn't get much more Youper than a Trinary toast eating contest. Am I right? So be sure to, if you're in the Negaunee area and you're looking for something to do this weekend coming up here, go and check it out. The other Youper News story that I have is on Tuesday, January 22nd, is the 132nd annual ski jumping tournament at Suicide Hill in Ishpeming. Again, it doesn't get much more Youper than ski jumping. So they're going to have tailgating there, concessions, bonfires. I believe they're even going to have fireworks after the jumps are done. The jumping starts that Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. If you get your buttons ahead of time, they're $15 a person. I know they're for sale all over at businesses in Negaunee and Ishpeming. The list of those businesses, I think, is on the website or on the Facebook page. Kids 12 or under get in free. If you purchase your button at the gate, it's $20 instead of $15. But again, if you're looking for something to do, I highly suggest heading over to Suicide Hill in Ishpeming and checking out some ski jumping. It should be an awesome event. That being said, the next segment that I have for you guys is one that I'm actually super excited about, and that segment is going to be This Day in Youper History, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Each episode, I'm going to be bringing you history from that day that the episode comes out, as it relates to the Upper Peninsula. And this awesome segment is brought to you by the folks at pasty.com. That's pasty.com. They also run the Pasty Central Facebook page, so a huge shout out to them. Go and check out their Facebook page and their website. Again, that's pasty.com and the Pasty Central Facebook page. So without further ado, we will jump into This Day in Youper History.
January 14th, Pasty Central Day in History. The 107th Combat Engineer Battalion of the Michigan Army National Guard had its beginnings in Calumet in 1881, serving with honor in many of our nation's conflicts. On this day in 1899, they mustered its men for service in the Spanish-American War. Most recently, the 107th sent 100 of its men for a year-long deployment in Afghanistan. Their motto, "Good as done." On this day in 1888, the Delta News reported that 250,000 feet of hardwood logs would be sawed at Dollarville for the docks at Marquette and St. Ignace. Finally, in 1920, on this day, it was so cold in Lake Michigan that the car ferry Grand Haven was stuck in the ice 3 miles off the shores of the town by the same name. Pasty Central Day in History, January 14th.
Okay, that was This Day in Youper History. Again, that was brought to you by the folks at pasty.com and the Pasty Central Facebook page. I hope that you guys really enjoyed these new segments. I've got a couple other ones that I'm not going to give away just yet. I will probably mix and match those into new episodes just to kind of keep things fresh and fun, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, we can jump right into the interview for this week. I was able to sit down with Jason Rowling. Jason is the race director for the Noquemanon Ski Marathon coming up, and we had a really great chat. So without further ado, he and I are going to chat it up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back after a long hiatus here for the holidays. I'm sitting here with Mr. Jason Rowling. Jason, thank you for coming on the podcast today. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. No, it was a pleasure.
Yeah. So, are you a born and raised Youper? I don't know a whole lot about you.
Yeah.
Quite a few people that I interview I've met before. I may have a friendship with. But are you from the area originally?
No, I'm a transplant.
Okay.
I'm from northern Wisconsin originally, a place called Phillips, which is
Phillips Floaters.
Yeah. And the loggers. And
Yep. Okay.
So I'm from that area.
Okay.
I roundabouted through Alaska to get here.
Sure.
And then I met a girl and I didn't leave, so that's kind of where I'm
Funny
at.
how that happens.
Yeah.
So I know you did go to school here, though. You went to Northern, correct?
I did a degree at Northern.
Awesome. Okay. And also, I know that you are a decorated 20-year Army veteran, so thank you for your service.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, so the reason why you and I are sitting down today really is the Noquemanon Ski Marathon, which is coming up here.
Absolutely.
And you are the race director. For those listening in that maybe aren't necessarily familiar with the Noquemanon, what exactly is the Noquemanon?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting race actually because it's one of the only point-to-point races in the nation.
Okay.
Meaning it starts in one location and finishes in another. And in this case, the Noquemanon starts in Ishpeming and then obviously finishes in Marquette, which is a pretty good elevation change and
I'd say
crossing a good amount of terrain. And it's one of the 3 largest marathons in the nation. So it's kind of grown. It grew from John Momartz and a group of dedicated individuals starting it 21 years ago.
Right. Yeah. 1998. Right. Yeah. It was the first year. So.
And it's morphed over the years, but it's really stayed true for the most part to what it is.
Yeah.
And it's a traditional cross country ski race. So like there's different techniques, but there's classical and skate. This has been true classical technique race, which is, it's one of those. It's one of those when you think of cross country skiing and you think of older cross country skiing, like that's what you think of the tracks and a race to the tracks. So it's a true marathon, 51 kilometers that finishes in a completely different location that starts. So it's pretty interesting.
So you mentioned that it's like the 3rd longest in the nation and it's one of the only point-to-points. I would assume then this race must bring in people from all over the country, if not other countries, would you say? I mean, are people coming in from all over for this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely it's part of different marathon series. The CXC Marathon Series is part of the Midwest, culture, essentially. If you look at cross-country skiing in general, you've got, 4 or 5 races that are like the epicenter of cross-country skiing. Kind of Noquemanon is one of them. You've got the Berkey, you've got this, you've got the Vasaloppet, you've got all these, Scandinavian-esque feel, races. And, so what happens is we've got competitors that come from all over the U.S., internationally, and a lot of it is dictated by schedules.
Sure.
Different schedules, different World Cup schedules, different Olympics, World Championships. They all kind of play into who shows up that year, right? Yeah. This year we're fortunate that there's a number of schedules that worked out, so we might be getting some different talent than we've got in other years, and that's the cool part about it, is that you just never know until race day, and then all of a sudden you're at the starting line with 4 Olympians standing right next to you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where else can you get that,
Exactly.
that type of thing? So how did you get involved with the race then?
Yeah, so cross-country ski racing is an interesting sport, and it's an interesting industry. Mm-hmm. I guess it's probably easier to explain my history a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that'll kind of go into how I ended up here. So I was a cross country skier and I was on the U.S. junior national team. And then I was a biathlete, and I was on the U.S. team. I was, so I played in that world quite a bit.
Sure.
I skied for the University of Alaska Fairbanks.
Okay.
And then I ended up coming here to the Olympic Training Center.
Sure.
And that was when we had a biathlon program here. It was ramping up to the Olympics in 2002. And then, when I ended up finishing my degree, and then we had some deployments to Afghanistan and some other things that mixed in there, but I knew I wanted to stay. And it's kind of like one of those things in the UP. It's like, if you want to stay, you find your way.
Yes, absolutely.
And so, I had been in my ski community. It becomes a pretty tight community, and
Sure.
I had met John Momartz. I worked at Downwind Sports, and so I knew all the doers of the race.
Yeah.
I had helped out with the race for many, many years. I had competed in the race, and then in my professional affiliation, John and I worked together on a lot of different stuff.
Sure.
He's now my boss, my employer. When you look at transitioning to a new director, and you look at transitioning to, someone who's going to be able to take and carry forth a race like this, it's different than other races. And I don't mean to downplay other races, but it's not a running race where all you need is dirt and a stopwatch.
Sure.
It's not a bike race where if it's raining, you just get wet.
Yeah.
Cross-country ski races require understanding snow, understanding grooming, understanding the industry for skiing, understanding, technique, understanding types of courses and the way that they need to be set up, understanding the logistics of getting to all of these things that are just different than other races. And you can't just turn over a race to someone who likely isn't really tied into that industry and understands it well.
Sure.
Luckily for us, John had ran this race for 16, 17 years, and he had put a lot of sweat and equity into this thing, and burnt a lot of calories. And when he was able to look at finding someone to take it over, I just happened to be in his world, and we were able to do a great handoff. So I became his assistant director for a number of years, and then I progressed into the director, and now he's still stayed with the organization, but he helps me with the trails, and he helps me with some of the background stuff. So, I don't think you ever truly go away from it,
right.
But you kind of give the reins up, and that's how we kind of came to it. But it's important though for an organization this size. I mean, we have over 600 volunteers every year.
Yeah.
It's one of the larger fundraisers for the Noquemanon Trail Network, which is a nonprofit, obviously. Everything that we do goes right back to the community for the trails and for upkeep and grooming and you name it. So at the end of the day, when you look at trying to transition this thing over, it's really, really easy to become stagnant with making it just happen.
Yeah.
And, to John's credit, he's just like, it's time for some new ideas. It's time for someone else to have a different thought process. And then, that's where I came in. I'm a little bit younger than him, and I had a different perspective, and it allows the race to stay fresh. And there's going to come a day that I'm going to be super pumped to hand it off to the next person. That's going to be able to take my ideas and refresh them because times have changed and whatever.
Right.
And then I'll go in the background and do a lot of work for the organization.
Sure. Well, and you kind of just in that answered a couple other questions that I had. Obviously, anything that lasts for 21 years and counting, there's got to be some sort of passing the baton, and you just covered that perfectly, or at least what I was curious about as to how this has made it all these years. And obviously the volunteers play a big role in that. I mean, having over 600 volunteers, that's more than some cities in the UP have people,
There's literally not enough time, energy, or ability for me to explain how much I appreciate those people.
Sure.
Because this organization wouldn't exist without it.
Right.
This race wouldn't happen without it. These people some of them have been with it from the beginning. Many of them, actually.
Sure.
And they're just incredibly dedicated, you know. They make your job really easy because, you know, they're not afraid to tell you that you're wrong and that it's not going to work out that way.
Yeah.
Oh, we tried that 7 years ago and that failed miserably. Don't do that.
Sure.
Like, okay, got it, you know. And so I'm very fortunate to have an incredibly amazing, cool group of people that have done this, and, you know, and just be able to walk in and
Yeah.
be able to work with some cool people.
So you've got obviously a ton of volunteers out there all over the place, but you have like a core race committee, correct? Of like 23 or 24 people, I think, make up the committee.
Yep.
What sort of other jobs besides just race director kind of fall in under, I mean, because obviously it takes a village to really make this happen.
Oh, yeah.
But what other type of jobs do you are a part of this, I guess?
Yeah, so it doesn't take a village; it takes an entire city to make something like this happen. That's for sure. But to your point, like when I was able to kind of transition from John, it was great because he had a really, really strong network set up, and John is an amazing leader in the fact that he doesn't even know the word micromanagement.
Sure,
which is great.
That is great. Yeah,
and I'm an Army officer. And so for me, that transitions well in my brain to understand that role and not to like be in the middle of people's greatness.
Yeah.
Or try not to be. I don't know if I actually do it, but sometimes I'd fail, I'm sure, miserably. But the point is that we had some amazing people already in the right spots.
Sure.
And so when you look at a race, you've got a medical piece to it. You've got a logistics piece. You've got a communication piece. You've got a marketing piece. You've got a registration piece. You've got Sunday events, kids events, bike events, dog events. You've got disabled Americans, adaptive skier type events. All of these people, and every single one of those I've said is basically in charge of their area.
Sure.
Right, and so I'm just fortunate to be able to be part of it, you know. And then the other piece of it too is like one of the bigger roles is course and grooming, and and John's heavily involved in that. Yeah. And then I kind of dip my toes in there quite a bit too, just because that's the meat and potatoes of the race, right? They got to have a great course to ski on, and we cost a tremendous amount of private land, and so that logistics every year, and making sure that we're good to go with all of those private landowners is always a huge piece to this, and we're so incredibly thankful that these people open up their property for us for the 2 weeks a year that it takes to get this race off the ground and down this course.
So you just kind of listed a bunch of different races so that anybody listening in is super clear. It's not just necessarily cross-country skiing. You've got snowshoe races. You've got a fat tire bike race.
Yep.
I don't know if I never know if I'm pronouncing this right. When a dog is pulling you when you're doing, is it ski jour, or how do you, is that your pronunciation?
You nailed it.
Okay, so ski jour, and then you have the adaptive race too, which is really, really cool.
Absolutely.
Have you gradually added these additional races throughout the years, or has it been kind of like as you transitioned into it, you added all of these?
No, it's been added over the years.
Okay.
You got to remember that sports and interests have a lifespan, right? And so 10 years ago, no one knew about snow biking. Wasn't a thing. Right. They didn't even have a snow bike.
Right.
And so, now they do. and now they have lots of them. And so, you kind of add these things as they go. And interest, kind of increases and decreases over the years. It's really, really easy for something to be popular when the U.S. is winning gold medals in it, right?
Very true.
And so you see a lot of interest increase, especially in young people, as the Jesse Diggins of the world are making, and Keegan Randalls are making Olympic gold medals, right? First ever, right? So you're going to see this. I guarantee you, it's just going to be like Bill Koch when he won a silver medal in the Olympics, right? You're going to see this huge influx, probably in this case, of young young girls that are just totally jazzed about
Sure.
cross-country skiing and want these because they idolize these folks.
Yeah.
So it's awesome, right? And so you're going to see this huge resurgence in young cross-country skiing, kind of like it was when I was a kid when Bill Koch was killing it.
Yeah.
That's how I got involved. They had all these young groups that were just kind of coming up, and then all of a sudden, you get this drought for a while.
Yeah,
it
plateaus.
It plateaus and things go up, and you need that excitement. You need those incredible people to come through and just kick it in the butt and get people really excited about it again. So we're in a great spot right now, and there's a lot of different things changing. But I guess to answer your question, the ski jour increased in popularity, so you add it. The biking did. The snowshoe has always been exciting, and that gets added in. The kids' races on Saturday, and it's an evolution thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So of all these different races, I guess, about how many people then do you usually see as far as like participating in it? Do you have a rough idea of about how many participants you have?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that, cross-country skiing, unlike some other sports, I mean, you see it in other places, but really in cross-country skiing, it's very much like a family-oriented deal, right? Like, oftentimes we'll see like, Dave Jr. Racing the kids race on Friday night, Dave Senior's racing the marathon race, and then Dave Jr. and Dave Senior are racing the fat bike race on Sunday. Like, it's a weekend, it's a vacation for this family.
Sure.
So, you're anywhere from like 15 to 2,000 participants at a given time, but then you add 3 to 3.5 kids and the Suburban and a wife and a husband and all these things to the mix. And I mean, I bet you're servicing well over 10,000 people on a weekend.
Awesome.
It's a big thing for the community in that way.
It is, and I guess as I would assume as these races have been added, obviously the numbers have gone up as far as participation. I would just assume that'd be kind of the logical thing: more options, more people.
Yeah, I mean, so that's the idea, right? Is that it is an opportunity for us to raise funds for the use and the upkeep of the trails and everything for a year, right?
Yeah.
And so the goal is to make it a place where lots of people want to come and enjoy Marquette and Ishpeming and Nagani and have a great weekend. So our goal is to grow the race. Obviously, it started the first year and they kind of just threw it out there, and they had a surprising, incredible outpouring of support for it.
Right.
And then it's grown from that first year. Sure. I think if we could get to 3,000-4,000 competitors, we'd be pretty excited about it.
Sure.
And right now we're working towards that right now. So,
what do you enjoy most about it? You've been on the race side. You said you've participated. You've also been on, obviously, behind the scenes. What about this race, I guess, do you really enjoy most?
What it does for the community, what it means, I guess. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to finish this race on Sunday along with 600 and some other volunteers. There's going to be a pretty dedicated group of core, executive committee folks that have put in 11 months of effort and calories into this, and they're going to wake up Monday morning feeling like they have the worst hangover in their life because it's you kind of come down from it and you're just beat.
Sure.
And that alone is incredibly gratifying.
Yeah.
To know that you made it happen, it got done, and it worked.
Sure.
Yeah.
So if someone's never been a part of it and they wanted to compete, or even if, let's say, they wanted to volunteer, because I know you guys still are looking for volunteers, and I'm sure you'll always take volunteers. If they're out there listening to this, what exactly do they need to do to get involved?
Yeah, so they can go on to the website, and they can hit us up on there via email. They can call the Noquemanon Trail Network office, and they can request it there. We have a volunteer spot that is kind of like an online registration place that you can get a link from. and we hit it up there as well. You know, ultimately though, a lot of times volunteers will call in and they won't necessarily know where they fit well in it.
Yeah.
And so calling the office, getting contacted with some of our folks that kind of run the volunteers is the best way, because they can kind of talk it through and see like, okay, what would work for me?
Sure.
You know, I like to be outside, or I'd rather be in a place that's a little warmer, or,
yeah,
whatever. Yeah. But we love to have them. There's always an opportunity for that. That's
sure.
For sure. Yeah.
And just so we're clear for everybody listening in, so this is basically over the weekend of January 25th, 26th, and 27th, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to add about the race, or anything that we didn't really touch on? I mean, we've hit all the questions that I really had about it, so if there's anything else you want to add, feel free.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest thing that I would touch on again, and I said it before, but like this is an entire community effort. But this race has a pretty incredible lineage as far as, and it has a pretty incredible legacy from those that have come before. Minneapolis folks know about it. Madison knows about it. You know, Illinois, downstate, and people come here because it's their thing, right?
Sure.
And that's something these volunteers are super proud of every year. But this happens because a community believes in it, and not to downplay other communities, because there's a lot of really great stuff that happens in all the rural communities all over the place,
sure.
Right? However, Marquette, Ishpeming, Negaunee, it's a little special in this area, and these types of folks, they put some effort into making sure that people understand what it is to be up here. You know, and you get that vibe in the race. It's different. This is not a race that is easy.
No.
It's a challenging race. It's a challenging race to race. It's a challenging race to ski. And people get a lot out of it, a lot of accomplishment. And this might be the only thing that they hit a year.
Sure.
In that capacity. But it's one of those things that they all look forward to. And so we're very, very thankful to those folks here, the landowners that make it happen, allow us to do it.
All right. Well, I know that you've listened to a few of the episodes, so I do have one final question that I ask everybody. Do you like ketchup, gravy, or other on your pasty?
So I'm an other.
You're an other?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's other? Is that nothing, or what?
Other's nothing.
Nothing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay.
Yeah, I'm the weird one out of the group. But if I had to pick one of the two, then it would be ketchup.
Okay. Yeah. All right, fair enough. I mean, I've got my interview with Seth Anderson. He liked hummus on his pasty, so that's interesting. I've gotten answers all across the board. Yeah. So, all right. Well, Jason, again, I can't thank you enough for sitting down with me to talk about the Noquemanon Ski Marathon, and another thank you to all the volunteers and helpers out there that make it happen every year. And again, like I said, I just appreciate you sitting down with me.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, it's time for the takeaways from my chat with Jason. The first is just how special the Noquemanon Ski Marathon is. It's wonderful that the money they raise goes directly into keeping the Noquemanon Trail Network going, which is such a huge recreational asset for Marquette County, no matter what season of the year it is. My second takeaway is the idea of perpetuation. Jason was handed the baton, so to speak, and someday he'll pass the torch to somebody else. And it's fantastic that they've been able to do this. And at the same time, they've also been changing and adding events that kind of coincide with the ebb and flow of which winter sports are popular. It's obvious that this is a winning combination, because otherwise this event would not be going on 21 years strong and counting. Really, it's a testament to the wonderful people like Jason, his team, and the incredible volunteers and all of those that have come before them. This kind of leads into my final takeaway from our chat. And that takeaway is that people matter, especially having the right ones. If you surround yourself with good people, you can accomplish amazing things together. The best part of our conversation is that it reiterated to me that this community is chock full of those types of people. Chat It Up is a bi-weekly podcast about all things Upper Peninsula of Michigan. If you haven't already, please subscribe, rate, and leave me a review. You can also find Chat It Up on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for listening in. I'm your host, Shooter, reminding you to keep your chin up and your eyes forward.